Yo, I hope everything is fantastic with you. Everything is great here, thank you. I am just back from the gym and I have to say I'm grateful to the miracle of muscle memory. Period. Anyways, let's get on with the video today. What I want to talk about is, and you might have gotten a glimpse of it by looking at the whiteboard if you can, of course, read my handwriting. But what I want to talk about is how overthinking spews into situations in our life and essentially ruins the entire thing just because we created imaginary scenarios in our head. And to display that, I'm just gonna use an anecdote or metaphor or parable or whatever you want to call it. It's essentially, well, the origins of it is that it is a joke. Not sure how funny it is, but let's make a start. So I want you to picture this. I want to picture my man driving a very old car, one of those from the 60s that goes like in the middle of the countryside at 3 a.m. at night. And as he's driving, he hears a large pop. So he stops the car, he goes outside, and he looks at the tire and he sees that it's completely burst. There's like a huge hole at the tire. So he goes back at the booth, checks the booth, and sees that he has a spare tire, but he doesn't have a jack. So he's like, how am I gonna lift the car? I cannot lift the car by myself. I'm just gonna call help. Takes his cell phone out, sees that he has no reach. He says to himself, I'm fucked. What am I gonna do? Then he just looks across at the top of the hill and he finds Eli's house. Thus, he thinks to himself, oh, I'm gonna have to just go up there and ask for help. I'm sure they will be kind enough to help me and lend me the jack just to fix my car and just get on with my life, really. Then he starts to march towards the house. And along the way, he starts thinking to himself, what if I knock the door and there's so the steps are like, what are you wanting, sir? It's the middle of the night. Don't you know that people are asleep? I was like, yeah, sir, but I just got a flat tire. I would really want to get a jack, so to fix the situation. And then he imagines the person opening the door being like, can't you see, my man, that we want to sleep? I don't care what happened to you. Aren't you considered about our situation? And then he replies and he said, yes, but if you don't give me a jack, I will be stuck here for the foreseeable future, really, until someone stops by and helps me. Like, I don't care, sir, I don't care, like, just leave me alone. And he has all this mental process in his head and he's arguing with himself and back and the imaginary person that opens the door. And then he reaches the door. Knock, knock. Then a very kind looking person opens the door. He's like, hello, sir, is there anything I can do for you? Are you okay? And then my man replies, fuck you and your jack. Right, I'm not sure how funny you found that, but what can we take from it? With all the processing that was happening in his head, he was essentially he was projecting his own insecurities and he was so afraid that the person who opens the door was going to reject him that he essentially rejected himself, but in a way that is not classified as a rejection to his own ego, because he told the other person to fuck off. So what I want to say about that is that by trying to protect our little ego, our little fragile ego, really, we find the solution of coming across as very distant, rude, non-attached to people, which obviously is a huge turn off and is non-ethical. But we may come across as non-attached, sorry, and like we don't care, but in reality, we are internally suffering, and we are more attached to the situation and the outcome of the situation that we care to admit to ourselves. And it's not a fun way to live life. It's not a fun way to want to display that you don't care, so people think that you're cool, so you don't get rejected. It's not a nice way to live life when you constantly reject yourself from nice things because you don't want the situation or the circumstances or an actual person to reject you. Might be the simple case of you walk up to a person of the opposite sex. I'm going to use a girl for this example. You walk up to a girl on the street, and instead of actually staying the course of the conversation to see where it goes, you just prematurely eject yourself from the conversation because you don't think you're enough for the conversation, and therefore you reject yourself so you don't get a harsher for the ego rejection, which would probably be in the form of, I'm sorry, I'm not interested. Who gives a fuck, man? Point of the video. And also, when we try to convey that we are not attached to something, that is when we are the most attached to it. And the word try gives it all away. True detachment comes from carefreeness. And true carefreeness comes from a healthy level of self-esteem. A level of self-esteem that does not care about little hits on the ego or about many rejections. That level of self-esteem experiences life instead of trying to control it. And it's not fun trying to control everything. How about we just let go and be unexperienced people, experience life, unexperienced situations. You're gonna see more of these topics in future videos. If you enjoyed it and if you got anything useful, please recirculate the energy, show some love in the comments, consider subscribing. I'll see you very soon. Take care.